For me, it was never about what art is or isn't. It was always about creating the space where I would feel safe and comfortable, and finding a way to communicate with others. I wanted to share my views on the topics that were important for me, and that was, for me, art, and why I used art. It was, and it still is, very much about self-identification through the artworks I make. A place of birth and a mother tongue language are among first identities that are brought to us that we somehow need to learn to accept or not to accept. Being from Balkan and being from Bosnia and being a woman has many disadvantages in the world which is ruled by a Western white man. And very early in my life I learned what does it mean to be born in a wrong place and a wrong time. But I learned how to play with this notion and also how to fight back. Through my art, I talk about those quote-unquote absolute position, and in many ways I try to expose those tools that are, and also confront those tools that are keeping many groups of people in disadvantage. Those tools are tools of hate and misogyny and prejudice. I often accept different roles just so I can dismiss them, and I oppose all identities which are not my own, which I don't accept. I believe that the physical shouldn't determine our identity. I might be born as a woman, but it's just a biology, so I need to accept that. And our identities are something that we choose for ourselves. So I might be a Balkan woman or a Bosnian girl, but it's only because I choose to be so. The war very much influenced the rest of my life. So, of course, that is something that was such a big and drastic change that will always continue to follow me through my life and my career. But it's also about accepting that and learning how to work with that and live with that experience. I like to imagine my life as well as my career as a natural growth, as Murakami would say, a long run, a marathon. And as long as we learn and as long as we accept changes, it's good. Otherness is our reflection. It is what we choose to see in others. It is interesting that you mentioned the work which I made 20 years ago, EU Citizens and Others, because at that point for me dealing with the subject of the border came very naturally because I was experiencing that. Like through these 2 decades that passed, you could see different changes in a political sphere, and now showing this work and having this work in a Tate Modern collection brought completely new discourse to the work. It was all of a sudden about the Brexit and what does it mean to be a citizen of Europe and how to separate this new identity of what we thought as a safe zone of Europe. I think that things always change, but if we understand that those changes and reflection on us are temporary, it's much easier, and in that sense we can fight back those views, again, which are imposed on us. It is correct to say that both image and the sound resemble a living organism. That was my intention. The house from the video is alive and it has dreams. We see and hear this need to move, this desire to be free, desire to have a choice. But in the video we also see and feel the struggle, and that's reality of the refugees and those ones who live in those shelters. It's sad that this dream house will never be a home. To be poetic and to be political is the same thing for me. It is my language. And sometimes I wish I could be only poetic and abstract, but I simply don't have that privilege. I have to be direct always. And I know that delicate and sublime are not pushed aside in these catastrophes and hardship. And that's what I'm trying to show in my artworks. Often I talk about female body as a territory, as something that is being used and abused, and it still is. No matter how much time passed since Van Gogh drew the sorrow and posed that question, the question is still here because the women are unequal, still unequal. So the sorrow is a self-portrait, but it's very political work. This brutality of the fight that we still live in is I think shown both in Van Gogh drawing and in my remake of the sorrow. So what the wall stands for. Humans have this crazy idea that they can own something. We believe that we can own the land, that we own the nature, that is ours just by claiming it. And that's of course why we are so wrong and why the system we build is so wrong, and we see the failure of that system all the time. So today the borders are the walls. We don't need to build them. They are already there. They are not maybe in the physical form, but they are very much there, and we use these borders to again show all the misogyny and hate and fear, and I guess that's why we need to fight against all sorts of walls around us. On time we can agree, and place we can share. About love we have to disagree because it's so personal, but something that we should agree on is that love is a motivation, and that's also something that I used in the film What Do I Know. It talks about love, but from the perspective of ghosts of love or ideas that are left behind those who are not among us anymore. So it becomes a universal story that travels around us, that we need to just open our eyes and see that it's all around us. This film was very important for me because it was the first time I created a short fiction film. And I somehow went into direction of film and film festivals and all this different world than the art world that I had experienced before. And it made me realize also how the borders between the genres are so implemented and deep-rooted in us, and also that made me that was challenging for me to try to break that rule a little bit, to shake it up and to make the artwork which would function as a video installation but also short film. But as well to come back to the first initial thing which I did with this idea. I just wrote a short fiction story, and for me that exists in an equal way and as other forms of this artwork. And hopefully it also exists in others, in those who saw the work and experienced it. History is just another name for human time. It's something that we defined as such. We agree on certain things or completely disagree on them, but they are claimed as a historical facts and historical time. The film 1395 Days Without Red is, I guess, the most personal artwork I did so far. It took a long time to make it, and the first idea or first thought that I had about this work came in the moment when I was living what we are showing in the film, when I was living in the siege city of Sarajevo and experiencing a life which was made out of fear, walking this path and running and avoiding snipers. I was very much thinking about this repetition, about this daily need to fight back. And just by walking and running and going to the street, this walking was a tool to resist and to survive. This film also shows something else which is very important for me. So the film shows how much art is needed in a difficult time, and how the survival is a mental game, and art is one of the tools in this mental game. We use it to cope. So this repetition and this choreography that we show in a film is reliving that time where people from Sarajevo, the citizens of Sarajevo, did this collective choreography which made the city alive, which made them stay alive and stay insane. This work takes a form of a red rug entirely made out of the second-hand clothes. All parts of the clothes are left visible, the zippers, the bottoms, the sleeves, so as well as the tags. And so in this way, like this layering of the clothes becomes this sentimental layering becomes an epitome of the collective experience. There are so many issues in this piece, as many as the layers of the clothes woven into it. It is about the as I said, collective experience, but it's also a symbol. And what does symbol represent in a popular culture in today time, but what it meant before, when we as a humans started to recycle and to make the rugs out of the waste. It is very much about the fashion and the fashion waste, so it is about the pollution. But together with that, it's also about women and their position in the society and in the fashion industry, and how their right to speak is taken away from them, how they become speechless like in a myth. So they use this way of creating something which is considered very feminine to tell their own story. With that particular work, Red Carpet, I started to deal with a subject which have more environmental issues, but I believe that ecology and climate change is a feminist issue. So that's because of that, I don't think it goes against a political aspect of what I'm doing. The culture we live in gives us guidelines, the point of understanding or total misunderstanding. And through this work, I wanted a viewer to wonder what exactly do they see when they see this image, but also what do they see when they see the waste of images that are being imposed on us on an everyday basis. This particular photo, or these two photos, were taken in Sarajevo in 1994. I was 18 years old. It was during the siege of Sarajevo, which started in 92 and ended in February 96. The siege was the longest siege in a modern history, but the photos were taken as a part of the fashion photo shoot for Italian magazine Moda. And these photos were in the same time taken during the most brutal and hardest period of my life. And that's the thing. What does these images exactly show? They always show something else. And this post-fiction becomes an evidence of this unimaginable reality. We try to depict in our minds what it is, but it constantly changes, and that is how our mind functions, and that is exactly the reality. We cannot depict only one reading. It is always a variety. My latest project is a permanent site-specific installation, which I did in Istria, near Mediterranean Sea, in one very beautiful landscape next to one old medieval town. It is a collage of the signs that read all different touristic accommodation invitations, and it's written in different languages and with different letters. And they are underneath is has a sign saying refugees welcome, which is the only glowing part of this huge installation. What was for me interesting when I came to this place is to deal with the site and what it is there, which is important for me. And the closeness to the Mediterranean Sea was extremely important. The fact that Istria is a part of the Croatia and Croatia is now a buffer zone to European Union was again something that I wanted to highlight. So this work is about the global migrations, and but it's also about mass tourism, about welcoming culture, about the hostile territories, about the new media that we and how we use it, the image that we want to create, and the places to be where we go to take this photo versus the places to stay where someone is fighting to get to just to be safe. So it is a very important piece for me, maybe because it's the most recent one, but I also think it very much shows the reality that we live in today.